You are listening to the Partner Up podcast by Welcome to Bundaberg. And in this series, you will hear from community leaders who are kicking big collaborative working together goals. We will highlight the successful partnerships, shedding light on the positive impact they have had on both businesses and the community. Welcome to Bundaberg aims to improve the health and well-being, work and lifestyle outcomes for people living in Bundaberg by activating and implementing a range of community-led strategies across a range of services for a more connected, cohesive community. Before we start today's episode, I would like to acknowledge country. I would like us to take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place and connection. In the spirit of reconciliation, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we live, work and love on. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging of all the lands, and I extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening today. Let's go. So thanks for joining us today. We are joined by Christine, and she is from the Feeding Queensland Kids Foundation. Yeah. So thank you for coming along to the Welcome to Bundaberg podcast. Christine, tell us about Feeding Queensland Kids and the work that you're doing in Bundaberg.
So Feeding Queensland Kids is a collaboration between Food Bank Queensland, Second Bite Fair Share and Oz Harvest, and it's supported by the Queensland Government. So the vision of the initiative is about creating food equity by engaging communities across three regions, so Bundaberg, Ipswich and Guyana, Mornington Island. And we're looking at addressing hunger and food insecurity through engaging with the communities in place-based, locally led solutions. So we're not coming in with a program, we're wanting really that ground up development based on what the community identifies it needs. We want to build capacity and empower the communities, and we want everything to be really practical for them. So it is about children and kids, but beyond that, we recognize that children are part of communities, they have family, they integrated in schools and other community activities. So it really is a community-wide project. And I guess the ways that we're working with communities is supporting them to access different grant funding so that they can do the things that they want to do around food. So we've got smaller community grants, which are capacity building grants, and then we've got larger food solutions where we're really looking for collaborative ideas that are looking at changing the system, making sustainable integrated change around food in our communities. And I guess beyond that, just raising awareness, having those conversations around food so that people can take action where they see fit. So, yeah.
I really love the fact that, this collaborative have come together, the Feeding Queensland Kids Collaborative have come together. They've got the three regions, but they're really looking at place-based initiatives to help support the work and not only are you coming in with, trying to build that capacity within the region so that when you leave, that stays, those learnings stay in the community, but you're also coming with some money to help support those initiatives and that work.
Yeah.
And that's when we first met. So YB Kids applied for some funding through the smaller local capacity building grants and created a project called What's for Dinner, Noah. And we're just kick-starting that project off over the next little while. The community will start to see some information coming out about that. And the What's for Dinner Noah project is really a local food education project, helping Bundaberg families feel more confident about what goes on the dinner table. And so we're really trying to support busy households with easy, flexible meal ideas that are budget-friendly and packed with local seasonal ingredients, and it looks like lots of different things. So we've got recipes, We've got videos and stories around food that we'll be promoting through our social channels using local ingredients. We also have some food packs that we'll be distributing to local families through our partners, our community organisation partners, and they'll include the food that people will be able to make their dinners with, but also some recipe cards that that they'll be able to follow along and get an understanding of how easy and simple creating a healthy and affordable dinner is, and also using local ingredients that are. Some of them might be seasonal, or some of them might be here all year round, like our beautiful sweet potatoes that we see in the fields, or our zucchinis and capsicums and tomato farmers that are always planting and picking throughout the year. So it's about using local ingredients. It's about encouraging people to cook dinners at home with their family, and really trying to raise awareness of it doesn't have to be a time-consuming effort. It can be as simple as making, tacos at home, or something nice and simple and easy. So tackling food insecurity, I think, is a pretty big challenge.
Yeah.
The Feeding Queensland Kids works across lots of different areas, and Bundaberg has its own unique challenges. What do you think some of the biggest barriers for families are here when it comes to putting healthy meals on the table?
I think, and I guess this isn't unique to Bundaberg, but it's the big one that comes up across the board, and it's the cost of food. And not only the cost of food, but the competing costs that has to compete with, whether it's like rental payment or a bill comes in. So, and that I think has been also, though, a trigger, because this is not just happening to people that might have specific socioeconomic challenges. The everyday people is really like noticing this increased cost, which I guess the good side of that is that it has really triggered people to sort of think, oh, maybe something has to change. Like, what can we do differently in this food system so we can feed ourselves and connect with food and get by? So that's one of the big things that everyone is saying. And we also have like a lot of community relief organisations here that are doing little things to help people access food. So that's really great. They're really like getting out there in the community. But we do want to see, okay, we need to meet that immediate need, but where can we need to go beyond that to really empower people? And so that's, I guess, where programs like the What's for Dinner Know come in, because we have sort of lost some of those food skills that would have traditionally set us up to be, like not just how to cook food, but be thrifty with food and to shop for food and to know like where to get the best bargain, because, tomatoes are in season now. So some of those skill things, we really need to, I think, re-embed into our community, and do that in a way that goes beyond some of the stigma that's associated with like struggling. I guess people would say, oh, struggle to feed your family, but I think it's you know accessing food is everyone's right, and there's a dignity associated with that too. So, and it's not just an individual responsibility. I think it's a community responsibility. And I think that's where we can really draw on our assets as a farming community. Like we are surrounded by an abundance of food. The food system that we have does mean that sometimes isn't always directly available to us. But I think we can really like leverage that and make small changes and do lots of little things to really improve that, so people do have access. They are, re-skilled around food. Food celebrated and connects us.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a few really key points there. I think access to food is just a basic human right.
Yeah.
And there is dignity and choice around that. And I think that that's a really important part. And also the local factors for Bundaberg. We're surrounded by all of this really great, nutritious food bowl. Only a few hours away, we have whole orchards of citrus.
Yeah.
Only 30 minutes away, we've got, ginormous avocado farms, and even just 15 minutes from the CBD, we've got sugarcane and macadamia
And like
orchards.
strawberries and like heaps of like great stuff.
So, lots of beautiful, nutritious strawberries, tomatoes, so many different things, and how we're utilising those connections, I think is really important. And community connection and awareness is one of the things that I think is a real driving part of this initiative. And I'm wondering whether you've already seen any key changes on how Feeding Queensland Kids may have impacted already, or any new conversations that you're hearing around Bundaberg about food insecurity.
I think there's a couple of things. Like one thing I think is that it's bringing like a really diverse range of people together. So like we've got businesses and food providers and community organizations, schools, like all coming together because, like we've said, food is a connector. It's something that connects people. It's and everyone has a role to play in that. So I think that's one really big thing. The other thing I think that this program has done is when I've gone and had conversations with people, organizations, like they've already got ideas and things that they want to do. So I really feel like Feeding Queensland Kids, like the community grants, are just really enabling people to do the things that they're already seeing as a need. And I just love like some of the really innovative projects that people are coming up with, and that do go beyond just like, okay, we're just going to feed people at this point. So people are really thinking beyond that emergency food relief and like, okay, how can we reskill people, or how can we make this sustainable? Or even if they're just doing things like purchasing resources for people, like really getting their community or clients like involved in that process. So just I think that's like one of the things that that has happened. And I think the other thing that I'm hearing is just like this revaluing of food. So I think a lot of factors have played this part where we've kind of moved the community towards, oh, we don't have like time for food. We need to do like meal delivery services. We need to always have like takeaway coffees and eat on the go. And I don't have time to cook. But food has this real value where it connects like intergenerationally. So let's like move the cooking from, oh, I don't have time to do this chore, to like, okay, I'm feeding my family, or I could be educating my family, or look around us, like what do we have available here? It's amazing. Like, let's celebrate that. Let's get together around food. And all, I guess let's like make the most of food too, like unwaste it. So we know that we waste a lot of food in Australia. So really getting people to think about how to use leftovers or be thrifty. And all of this is revaluing food. And I think that if we can do that as a community, that doesn't single out any particular group, but it will like make great gains across food equity, food security, all of those things.
It's so important. And I think that, yeah, you've touched on lots of really good points there. And I know that one of the things I'm hearing is definitely this question around why do we have food insecurity? Why is it even on the agenda
Yeah.
of food is such just a basic human right, and where we live, we shouldn't be dealing with these barriers to food. And so I think just raising that awareness that these problems exist, and what systems do we need to change to be able to lessen the barriers, to reduce the stigma around food access. So I think that the program's only really been around for a short time, but already we're seeing people really starting to think about food in a different way, and access and equality to food.
Yeah, yeah. I think those things, I think our mindsets, our relationships to food, there is some big systems things like policies and things like that that impact our food system. But I think locally, if we can get people to be really creative about how they can leverage change from a local level, we'll start to see lots of things that filter up through the system. So that's exciting, I think.
Yeah, it really is. And looking ahead, what's your vision for the future of community-led projects like the What's for Dinner Noah, and how can Bundaberg get involved to make sure families never have to wonder what's for dinner?
So I'd really like to see more of the small projects that, like it doesn't have to be one big thing that changes everything. Lots of little things can form part of the solution, and if we're sharing those knowledge, sharing the stories as well, so from the programs that are happening, but also individual stories, I think that's really great. Reconnecting with our local food system, I think, is what one of the things I would really love to see happen, as well as that collaboration between local organisations. What else?
Are there any plans to expand or bring in any new elements of Feeding Queensland Kids, or do you still have are organisations able to still access those smaller grants, and how do they do that?
Yeah, so at the moment we have got 18 months of funding for the initiative. But our community grants, they are rolling grants, so people can still get in touch with myself to access those grants locally. So we definitely still have funding available for that. So I'd love to hear about what you want to do and support you to access those smaller grants. If you've got a bigger idea, or you'd like to link in with some other organisations, we also do have the bigger food solutions funding available to look at systems changes. So that's there. I'm also hoping to keep these conversations going. So we've had a few opportunities to connect. I've connected with lots of organisations individually, but I think the value of people coming together and having that conversation is really important as well. So I'm hoping to maintain at least like quarterly sort of food workshop connections. But I think even as beyond the organisations, I think even as an individual, we can take action to do to improve food security for ourselves and for our community. So maybe that is just sharing the recipe that you learnt from What's for Dinner Noah, or like heading out to your local farm gate, or have you got an orange tree in your backyard, like take those in for your work colleagues. All of those little simple things is how we can embed that value of food and extend the sustainability of the program beyond, what the grants or the funding can provide.
Yeah, that's a really important part. We
we often forget about those small gestures that actually do make a difference. I know, you know, we're here at the neighbourhood centre in Bundaberg, and there's always someone walking around that's got a bag of tomatoes or a bowl of mandarins or something that they've grown in their backyard. And it's a really nice sense of community, sense of contribution. You're not only giving, but you're also taking from that community as well.
Yeah, and I think it also can start those conversations, because you'll probably go home and you'll say, I make something with that, and then you'll come back and say, hey, you know those tomatoes that you brought in, like I made this amazing Greek salad, oh, what's your recipe for that? So that's the way that we can maintain those conversations and that work, even as an individual.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this topic?
I think we've covered a lot, and I just think that it's really exciting. For me, I've been working in the food space in Bundaberg for 20 years, and this is like the most excited that I've been, because I can see like true action happening. So I feel like there's this real community readiness, and because I love to celebrate food, I'm like very excited that the community is like coming on board and just coming up with amazing and innovative things to do that. So I'm really looking forward to what comes out of it.
Yeah, we are too. I'm looking forward to what the next steps might look like. So thank you for joining us. We'll have the links to Feeding Queensland Kids and the What's for Dinner project, NOAA project, in the description, so you can find out more, and you can get connected with Christine if you've got an idea that you want to bring to the table, shall we say?
Yes.
And she'll be able to help you with that. Thanks for joining us.